It is Friday, May the 17th, and this is WagerTalk Today. And don't switch your dial. Yes, there's no Prez and there's no Teddy, but it's a great show nonetheless. It's the Blues Brothers, Andy Lang and Steve Merrill, wearing two different shades of blue here on this beautiful Friday, May the 17th. And yes, Prez and Teddy are going to the Grateful Dead show this evening in the Sphere in Las Vegas. So if there's ever a reason to watch Monday's show, that is the reason. They will both be back on Monday because we're live Monday through Friday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right here on WagerTalk TV. Great show today on Friday. We have a huge Game 6, Pacers-Knicks. We're going to get to that in just a moment at the top with Ross Benjamin. Also, Jesse Schule breaking down some games. And we might have Art the Seeds. We had him on Tuesday. We're trying to get him back today on Friday, but getting double Art might be too much to ask for. But either way, Andy Lang and I have plenty to talk about here on this Friday show. And don't forget, also, the Prop Master will have a big game breakdown for you, PGA Championship style here, coming up in just a moment. But once again, let's bring on Ross Benjamin from New York to talk his Knicks against, oh my goodness, Andy Lang's Indiana Pacers. It was meant to be at the top of the show. Ross Benjamin, welcome. How have you been doing?
I'm doing great, Steve. Great to finally get to talk to you. It's been many years, since we really sat down and talked. And Andy, thank you for having me as well. And I want to clarify something, though. I'm not from New York. I'm from Rochester, New York. It's a whole different country. I'm in Western New York. I'm 60 miles east of Buffalo. They're on the other side of the state,
Toronto
6
Raptors.
hours away.
The Toronto Raptors against the Indiana Pacers. Now, I realized that right away. Saying you're from New York is like saying someone from Blacksburg. That's like Blacksburg, Virginia, saying they're from D.C., Northern Virginia, right? So definitely two different worlds there, to say the least.
Yeah. One is fast-paced, and the other one, yes.
Ross, you get just huge brownie points from me. I mean, my gosh, if you want to suck up to one of the hosts, you're doing it right because you're going with the Pacers over their team total against the Knicks. So proud of you for this one. Go ahead and break down what you like about the Pacers and why you think they're going over this total.
All right. Well, quite simply, when you get Indiana coming off an offensive game like they had against the Knicks in Game 5, you can almost be assured they're going to come back with a strong offensive effort in the following game. They're coming off their 121-91 lambasting at the hands of the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. And look, they only had 72 field goal attempts in that game. That's 20 below their season average. And it's not because they were trying to play at a slow pace. No, the bottom line is they turned the ball over 18 times. Okay, and they also allowed the Knicks to have 20 offensive rebounds, which extended. The Knicks were getting multiple possessions, and, you can't score if you don't have the ball, quite simply. And still, they managed to still go 12 for 27 from three-point range, which is 44%. And you look at their series, I should say, through the first 5 games of the series, they're 63 out of 150 from the three-point line, and it's beyond the three-point line, I should say. That's good for 42%. And Indiana, they've scored 111 or more in 4 of the 5 games in a series, the lone exception in the last game. And you got a New York Knicks team that's allowed 111 or more in 6 of their last 7, with the exception being in the last game. Indiana, by the way, 46 home games this year. 38 out of the 46 home games, they've scored 111 points or more. That's 82.6%. Indiana has scored 101 points or fewer on 5 separate occasions this year. And in their next contest, they averaged 121.8 points per game and shot 52.7% from the field. And since last year, by the way, guys, they've only went under 100 points in terms of scoring 8 times, like they did in the last game. In the following game, after those 8 times they scored less than 100, they averaged over 125 points per game. So they've shown the ability to bounce back offensively off a weak offensive performance, not only this year, but going back to last year when they weren't nearly as good. And again, this is also an Indiana team that shot 43% in the previous game. The last 6 times they shot less than 50% in the game, they scored 120 points or more in the following game on each occasion. Indiana over 110.5.
You worried at all about the rebounding? You brought up the 72 shot attempts, and they were just terrible on the boards. That's really been their Achilles heel in this series. Does that concern you at all, that this may hold them back, the lack of rebounding and how many second chance opportunities the Knicks get?
Well, since I'm not focusing it in on the side on this particular pick, I would say I'd be more concerned with the fact that they turned the ball over 18 times in their previous game, and they only averaged 12 per game. So I'm looking at that number to go down significantly tonight and them to be more cognizant of protecting the basketball. In terms of the 20 offensive rebounds they had in the last game, they give up 12 per year. Again, I just think we were looking at a desperate and urgent Knicks team in game 5 that was energized by the home crowd. And I don't think either of those numbers, the 18 turnovers and 20 offensive rebounds, is going to come close to happening tonight. And as a result, they're going to get more field goal attempts. I guess that's the best way I can answer that, Andy.
Ross Benjamin breaking down Game 6 between the Knicks and Pacers. And by the way, it's a coincidence that we have myself, Steve Merrill, Ross Benjamin, Jesse Schule, Andy Lang, for the best, in my opinion, solo video producers here for WagerTalk TV, all in the show here on Friday. So be sure to check out Ross. He's been doing a great job breaking down a lot of these NBA games for free. Jesse Schule coming up next has been doing it as well. So if you're liking what you hear, smash that like button, comment below, and watch Ross also solo video style here daily on WagerTalk TV. And Ross, you also do baseball. So I got to ask you here on the way out, what's a baseball game you're looking at tonight on Friday?
Looking at the Red Sox and the Cardinals game, and it will take place at Busch Stadium in St. Louis tonight. Two starting pitchers in good form, Steve. Brayan Bello for the Red Sox and Kyle Gibson for the St. Louis Cardinals. Gibson, over his last 5 starts, a 2.10 ERA, a 120 whip. 4 of those 5 games went under the total, and he averaged 6 innings pitched per start. And that's important because St. Louis's bullpen has been a little bit inconsistent this year, and the more innings he can give them, the better chance they have of keeping the score down for the Red Sox. And the St. Louis Cardinals, 11-6 to the under at home this year, and only averaging 3.4 runs per game and hitting 208 as a team. That's horrible. The St. Louis Cardinals hitting 208 as a team at home and only averaging 3.4 runs per game. Wow. Brayan Bello, last 4, 2.11 ERA, 108 whip. The Boston bullpen, the last 7, 193 ERA, 1.04 whip. The Boston bullpen, 21 road games this year, 189, 107. That's the ERA and whip splits. And as you can see, they're substantially better on the road than they are in their home ballpark at Fenway, which could be, you can construe that in many ways. And I just keep it simple. Fenway's a hitting ballpark, and there's not many other parks in the league that you can consider has the dimensions like Fenway Park that's disadvantageous to the pitchers. Anyway, Boston, by the way, 14-2 to the under in their last 16. They're 12-9 on the road, and not only 12-9 on the road, but they're only allowing 2.7 runs per game on the road, which is, again, the splits between home and away in terms of runs allowed is drastically different, and that speaks to their home ballpark at Fenway. And when they get on the road, the pitching staff has enjoyed not pitching within the friendly hitter confines of Fenway Park. The weather should not impact this game whatsoever tonight. Very light winds, no chance, hardly any chance of rain. Steve, I'm going Red Sox Cardinals under the total of 8.
You mentioned just the terrible hitting of the Cardinals. I do have to bring up, though, they won 3 out of their last 4. They scored 4. They scored 10. They scored 7. They didn't play that great on Wednesday, but I don't know, winning 3 out of 4, are you worried that maybe the Cardinals might be hitting a little bit of a hot stretch?
Yeah, you want to check where those games were? They were on the road. So I'm going to focus more on the factor that, look, it's a good point, Andy, and it's certainly something we shouldn't overlook. But until they show me they could start hitting in their own ballpark, I'm not going to be concerned with what they did on the road, because those home and away splits, when it comes to handicapping baseball, to me, is a major part of what I do. And especially if you're looking at recent streaks in terms of home and away. So, yeah, it's a good point to bring up, and certainly something that should be considered, but I'm not going to let it affect my pick just because of the fact that we got a very good starting pitcher right now, and Kyle Gibson. I should say a hot starting pitcher. I don't want to get carried away. Big difference. And they're going to be facing a guy in Brian Bello, who's pitched extremely well over his last 4 starts in a Boston bullpen that's kept the scores down. So having said that, yes, I'm glad you brought that up. And no, I'm not overly concerned with it, but I'm certainly not naive enough to look over that. But I think everything that I just said from a data standpoint certainly overrides their recent run scoring ability on the road.
Yeah, in fact, this past week, they were the second lowest scoring team in baseball, Ross, when they got that little bit of a spark, like you guys talked about, on the road trip against Milwaukee and against the Angels, who have just been a bottom feeder against everybody recently. And they also come home with a day of rest, and it's an angle we've seen where home teams often struggle that first day back after a somewhat extended road trip. So we'll see what St. Louis does offensively tonight at home against Boston. Ross Benjamin, sportsmemo.com. And once again, Ross does a fantastic job with daily videos breaking down the NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball. You just heard a little taste of it here on the show today, but check out those solo videos on WagerTalk TV. And also check out Ross's best bets, number one this NBA postseason with a mere 33-14, 70% record, sportsmemo.com. And number one last year, Ross, 41-24. So not a fluke. You're crushing it again this year. Oh, by the way, number one in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. So I know you're number one all time in the NBA at WagerTalk, and I applaud you for that. But I got to blow my own horn here. Postseason time, when things matter the most, I seem to be locked in, and the numbers back that up. If you go to my homepage at sm.buzz/RB, you'll see all my hot streaks, folks. It goes beyond just the NBA. So join me. Let's make some money. $5 special today, by the way. Customer Appreciation Day. I got a baseball pickup for that, and also a 5-unit play in the game tonight between the Indiana Pacers, Indiana Pacers, and those New York Knickerbockers. Up right now, folks, $19. You know what's better than that? The specials we got going on right now, too. Individual sports, 7-day pass, $49. It's $7 a day. Come on. Even if you're a small bettor, you could afford that. Even the guys that are poor in the state of Indiana could afford that. And even the Canadian boys like Steve and Jesse could afford that, for crying out loud, even with the exchange.
I'm moving north. He's moving me north, Andy. I love it.
I thought you were in Canada.
You thought I was Prez?
Prez is in Canada, yeah. He's in Canada where that crazy mayor was, in Toronto. Anyway.
The mayor's name is Carmine Bianco, and we love him. He is crazy, though.
Oh, okay.
He's the crazy uncle.
I'm talking about the other guy that reminded me of Chris Farley. He was always coked up and falling all over the place. Anyway.
and look, we were having a Canadian free. We had a Canadian free Friday, and we brought on our northern New Yorker, our Rochester boy, to balance things out.
Hey, I'm only 70 miles from the border, Steve. So you know, we know
the Mounties are on the way as we speak. Take cover, Ross Benjamin. Might be the last time we see him. The Mounties are on the way to get him. They don't take kindly to that talk about their mayor.
Yeah,
Ross, best of luck. Sportsmemo.com, and I buried the lead. I'm glad Ross remembered it. Is $5 Customer Appreciation Friday on both sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com, and quite simply, you get a play from every capper today for just $5. Check that out right now. No promo code needed. Wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com. $5 customer appreciation, because we do appreciate you customers, and we're showing it today on Friday. Andy Lang, we're going to have Jesse Schule, another great Sports Memo capper, in just a moment. And hell of a coincidence, right, that Ross has been number one each of the past 3 seasons of the NBA. I'm number one this year, number one all time in the history of Wager Talk, and we're both doing daily NBA playoff videos. there's something to it. When you dig deep into this on a daily basis, you see things well. And the NBA, I think, is the ultimate ebb and flow situational sport. So glad to see that it's paying off for Ross. He's doing a lot of hard work here with the videos, and it's paying off with his personal best bets as well. All right, we're going to have Jesse in just a moment, but first let's do a little What Bettors Learn. Andy Lang filling in for the mighty Teddy Covers. And Andy, you want to talk about winning in the shadows. And I don't know where you're going with this, but being the prop master, I have a feeling it might have something to do with that.
Well, it's actually, I'm going to piggyback off of what you just said. You and Ross having success in the NBA. So follow me on this. So I met with my financial advisor earlier this week, and we always do this song and dance where I ask how my IRAs are doing, and he says, "Oh, we're up 6% this year." And he says, "Well, how's your sports betting going?" And I'm up 68% this year. And I always joke with him, like, why am I giving you money? It should be the other way around. Why aren't you subscribing to my plays? Why am I giving you money so I can get 6%, 9% when I'm, up 68%? So I love my financial advisor. He is absolutely fantastic. The firm is great. And so he asked me, he said, how are you up that much just, in this short period of time? And I said, well, I kind of have my own strategy. And he said, I got to tell you, you should max out your IRAs, and then you should stop giving us money and keep putting money into your own bankroll. And I said, I did not expect you to say that. And he said, well, we're confident and we're comfortable with what we do, and we can't give you those returns. And so here's where I kind of had an aha moment. So yesterday, NFL schedule release. We have the Timberwolves blowing out the Nuggets. We have the Pacers and Knicks game 6 night. Thunder, Mavericks game 6. Even in hockey, the Canucks beat the Oilers, Rangers, Hurricanes. Headlines galore. Well, yesterday we cashed a 5% play in darts. Not exactly a sport that is on everyone's radar. And so, Steve, how are sales on a 5% darts play? Not great. I'm okay with that, though. Even though we're 12-4 in darts this year, we're up 20 units. But it's just not on people's radars. And it can get frustrating because we have this winning record. But I understand that these are sports that not everybody follows. And I have not been in the industry nearly as long as like you have, Steve, Teddy, Marco, Ralph, etc. So I find myself fine-tuning what my place is in this business. Like, what do people think of when they look at me and when they look at my plays and my bankroll? And the guys that I work with, producer Dan, who's fantastic at lacrosse, Corbin, who's great at darts and tennis, Jim, who is great in NFL sack props, I just really realized that me and the people I work with, we do our best work. We find the most profits in sports and in situations that just aren't in the headlines. And while they're great for winning, sometimes they're just not great for sales. And I have to be okay with that because I feel comfortable in the product that we put out, and I feel comfortable in the record that we have. So this week, I think I'm really coming to terms with what is my place in this industry. I call it winning in the shadows. I win in the sports that not everyone bets on, and I'm okay with that. And I love that you and Ross have brought up how great you guys are in the NBA, because when I look at you, when I look at Ross, I have this picture in my head of what is Steve Merrill, what is Ross Benjamin. So my advice to everyone out there is, if you're struggling, if you find yourself like kind of on a treadmill where you can't really get ahead on the books, try and find your niche. Try and find what you think people want to look at you as, and you're going to be so successful, just like Steve is, just like Ross is. That's what I learned this week, trying to find what my niche is, being comfortable within it, and the success that comes with it. So that's what I learned this week, Steve, thanks to my financial advisor.
Well, I love the analogy, obviously, because I talk a lot about financial markets and sports betting markets, as you know, Andy, and the correlations. And I'm pretty confident that your financial advisor, along with almost every other financial advisor out there, probably has you largely correlated to the S&P 500. You might not be in the S&P index, you probably are, but whatever stocks you have, are 90% correlated. And the S&P 500 is basically the NFL. And it's so funny. I was actually thinking about this yesterday on a totally non-correlated topic about the analogies once again. And the S&P 500 is the NFL. It's the biggest market. Everyone's in it. Everyone bets it. And when you're doing darts, that'd be kind of like trading orange juice futures or cocoa futures. And by the way, anyone pulls up the cocoa futures chart from the last couple months, exponential, straight up. Now it's come back down recently, but it's been on a monster tear. And how is cocoa correlated to the S&P? Well, it's like a zero correlation over the past few decades. How are darts correlated to the NFL? Probably a zero in my mind. you might actually be shooting darts as you're watching the NFL. That's probably the only correlation. And I always talk about you as the prop master. And what do I say every week when you're on the show? If you want to diversify your betting portfolio, Andy Lang is the man. Because once again, Teddy Covers and myself, Steve Merrill, we're not releasing lacrosse, darts, PGA. But it goes down to something else we've talked about also. Most sports bettors have to determine, are they serious about winning? Is this an investment? Do they want to win? And I bet you 99% will say, yeah, I want to win. 20% really want to win. And they might not even realize it, but you get what you want. And when you're playing, non-correlated 3-4 parlays, in-game betting just on, for action, you're not playing to win. You're playing to have fun. And I will say right now, there is nothing wrong with that. That is something that's changed over the 30 years I've done this. I would have shamed you 20 years ago. Now, man, there's nothing wrong with that. But just be honest with yourself. When you lose each football season or when you're down every week, when you're paying the man, we don't say that anymore because nobody has to pay the man because everything's legal. But, you have to be honest with yourself. Are you really doing this to invest and win? Because if you are, you would be playing darts, PGA, Formula One, Andy Lang's ugly duckling sports that you can't even find on the TV dial. And you also might be taking a look at Tokyo Brandon, who's on every week. Number one, all sports combined the last several years at WagerTalk. Tokyo's doing Korean baseball, Japanese baseball. So pitcher props in baseball. So once again, lots of different ways to win. The beauty, though, Andy, in my opinion, this is where I'm going with this, is that you can have the best of both worlds. You can have the S&P 500 and still diversify with cocoa futures or bonds. And that's actually what works best, is to layer, to system stack, to return stack. Why not play the NBA playoffs tonight and have Andy's dart bets and PGA best bets also, or Andy's player props for the NBA and NHL and have my best bets for the side or total tonight? Actually, that works extremely well because they are non-correlated. We hardly ever have any overlap. And once again, you can get best bets today for $5. You can get all sports specials from all of us. That's how you win long-term. And the beauty of it, Andy, is you get more action as well. So I really do believe you can have both. You can have action, you can watch the games, you can win, you can also make money at the same time. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and like you said, you have to decide what you want to get out of it. I truly believe if you go all in on what exactly you want and you lay out a plan, the results will be there. Like you said, some people are just throwing stuff at the wall, hoping it sticks. But if you get a plan and you stick to it, you will get exactly what you want out of it. So, we all want to have fun with it. But if you're throwing out bets just to have fun, just lower the percentage, make it really, really small sprinkles and separate that from the business side of it, the real bankroll that you can grow 60%, 100%. I mean, Steve, you're very rarely going to be able to get those returns on the stock market, but this is one of the industries. It's high risk, high reward, but man, I love the reward. When the reward is there, it is a great feeling and you can watch your bankroll grow exponentially. So agree with you 100%.
And Andy, real quick, we'll leave it on this. We're bringing Jesse Schule. But if I could give you an investment that has an annualized 8% return, compounded interest return, and an occasional 50% drawdown, would you be interested? Sports betting, obviously, is not like that.
I would. Of course. It's safe. It's 8% every year. Yeah, sign me up. Absolutely.
Yeah, but did you hear what I said? 50% drawdown occasionally, which means you lose half your bankroll every once in a while. Would you be okay with a long-term 8% compounded annual rate of return for a 50% occasional drawdown?
If I'm in it long-term, if I'm putting money and just leaving it in 30 years and I can come back and get it, yep, I'm in there.
Well, that's why I was tricking you, because that's exactly what the S&P has done for the last 100 years. It's been an 8% compounded annual return, which is nice. 8% is great, but some occasional 50% drawdowns, and you and I have seen them in our lifetime, 2000, 2008, 2020 almost for a month, and it came right back. But that cracks me up. The financial advisors think the S&P is some set it and forget it. You could have some nasty drawdowns as well. Even Warren Buffett has had them. So people think, sports betting have drawdowns. Well, the financial markets have them too. But like Andy said, you can make a lot of money in sports betting in a much shorter time frame. All right, this is Steve Merrill. That's Andy Lang. We're filling in for the Prez and Teddy Covers. They will be back on Monday. Hope you enjoyed that segment, What Bettors Learned. I think that was an extremely great What Bettors Learned segment. We're going to bring on Jesse Schule now, who also does a great job with the solo videos. And Jesse, I was laughing yesterday because you and I do these videos every day. We get a lot of interaction. You and I were both thinking Nuggets team total under yesterday, and I appreciate you chiming in. You comment on mine as well. And then someone within the comment within my video diving deep, which is fantastic, said that you were full of it, man. You hadn't been riding, and then he was pointing out the fact that you had picked the Pacers pre-series to beat the Knicks. So somehow that got tied in, and then somehow I guess the guy thought it was a best-of-5 series because your Indiana Pacers are still alive tonight in Game 6, to say the least. So we'll see how that goes. Once again, check out Jesse. He's doing a ton of NBA preview videos out here.
On Twitter, I've been putting out the hashtag Pacers in 6 ever since they went down 0-2 after Game 2. I was hashtag Pacers in 6 based on the injuries and based on the general feeling. It looked like, man, the Knicks are up 2-0, but they might not win another game in this series, was the way I was seeing it. I did place a bet on Pacers plus 400 to win the series at that point when they were down 0-2. And because I was using the hashtag Pacers in 6, a lot of guys have had a little fun with me and said, you were so wrong. I still got the ticket, plus 400. It's still alive, and I still like it very much. I think we're going to see a Game 7. I heard what Ross had to say. I couldn't agree more. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm coming off a 3-0 sweep with NBA picks last night. So for those who say, what have you done for me lately? That's what I've done.
Well, another guy, Andy, that's doing daily NBA videos and seeing it pretty well. 3-0 sweep last night, all sports. And by the way, plus 400. I love how people are calling you out on a 20% play. You only have to hit 20% of the time to break even on plus 400. So it's not like that's something you're going to be winning more times than not.
And it's still alive, right?
Correct. Hey, speaking of this game tonight, you want to talk Alec Burks. I've done the videos every day for this game. I've done all 6 games, and I don't think I've mentioned his name once. And as you know, I do a pretty deep dive into player props. So I'm really curious where you're going with Burks tonight for the Knicks in Game 6, and then also curious to see what the prop master himself, Andy Lang, has to say if he blesses it afterwards.
All right. Well, since Game 2, the Knicks have been banged up. They got the injury concerns. A lot of criticism for Thibodeau for playing his starters 45, 48 minutes a game. And he's cut that back. He's brought in some guys off the bench. And one of those is Alec Burks, 13-year veteran. Guy's averaged double digits throughout his career. And he's really stepped up to the plate. Last 3 games, averaging 20 minutes per game, 17 points. And I did bet on him over points in Game 5. They've bumped the number up just a little bit, but not high enough, in my opinion. 10.5 points for him. I think Tibbs has to really be careful here with how many minutes he plays his starters, with the idea that if it goes back to a Game 7 in New York, you don't want DiVincenzo and Josh Hart coming off a tough Game 6 where they played 45 minutes. Burks is playing well. There's no reason not to think he doesn't get his minutes once again. He's been a very dependable scorer throughout his career. And then in the event of a blowout, which I think isn't that unlikely, Burks is a candidate to get that mop-up duty when the starters come out. He's a guy that'll stay in there, and he could easily ring up this points total in the final 3-4 minutes of the game. 10.5 is his number. I think he gets there. I think it's a matter of the books couldn't bump this up high enough, and it's not quite there yet, in my opinion.
I have nothing to add to that. I actually put a free play on my profile page earlier today, and it was Alec Burks over 10.5 points. That's how much I agree with it. I laid it on the exact same write-up and conclusion you did. I agree with absolutely everything. I know someone in the comment section, the chat, asked, what do you think about 1.5 3-pointers over for Burks? He's hit 2, 2, and 5. And the Pacers defense is horrific. So in the chat section, I agree that over 1.5 is the way to play it. So Jesse, I agree 100%. This has been locked in. This is a play for me. I've already put my money on this play as well.
Yeah, about the 1.5 3-pointers. I mean, yeah, I like that one as well. I just think the 10.5 points is a lot simpler, a lot easier to get to. If he gets the minutes to hit those 2 3-pointers, he'll get his 10.5. And there's a possibility of he gets his 11 points and goes 1 for 5 from beyond the arc, which I just want to avoid that and take the higher percentage play, in my opinion.
It's Jesse Schule talking some NBA, and he's on a mere 10-2 NBA hot streak, and he's doing daily NBA videos here on WagerTalk TV as well throughout the playoffs, so check him out. Yet another reason to hit the like button on all these videos. Keep them free, keep them plentiful. Thumbs up, like, and comment below. We read the comments and we reply back. All right, we had a little EPL earlier this week with Brian Power, and I joked that, Jesse, I didn't even know the EPL was playing. but they're near the end of the regular season apparently, and we got a game Sunday, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa. What are you doing with this one?
Yeah, this is going to be the final day of the regular season for the Premier League, which is often very exciting, a lot of different storylines. It's a little bit anticlimactic this time around. All the Champions League spots have been taken up, and the relegation battle's pretty much decided. You've got Arsenal and Man City fighting for the championship, but both have relatively easy matches. And if both those teams win, then the title will go to Manchester City. I like this game because it's got a motivational mismatch. You got Crystal Palace, which is the inferior team, but they're at home in the final game. And you've got an Aston Villa side that recently clinched the Champions League for the first time since 1983. So, big letdown spot for Aston Villa. Aston Villa is winless in their last 5 matches in all competitions. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, undefeated in their last 7 matches. Crystal Palace has beaten the likes of Manchester United, Newcastle, Liverpool, West Ham during that run. They're wrapping up the season at home. You'd expect Aston Villa perhaps to even rest some star players. There's really no reason for them to get up for this game. And Crystal Palace is the kind of team that, a final win at home for the home fans is something to get up for. They don't have a lot of great moments to look forward. They're not playing in the Champions League next year. They're not looking ahead to next year. They've had a good run. Good runs are far and few between for this club. I say they take advantage of it on the final day of the regular season and get the win. It's priced at minus 115, and I think the price sort of tells you something as well. You would expect that price to be a little bit shorter. Certainly if it was a couple weeks ago, it would have been shorter. But because Aston Villa's got nothing to play for, people are wise to that. Money's coming in on Crystal Palace, and for good reason.
It's Jesse Schule talking a little NBA, EPL. He also does baseball as well. In fact, he's a perfect 10-0 in MLB 5% play since last summer. 14-2, 5% run, 10-2 NBA run overall. Check out his daily NBA videos here on WagerTalk TV. And Jesse, let everybody know what you've got going on at sportsmemo.com for $5 Customer Appreciation Friday.
Yeah, I've got an NHL play up for the $5 appreciation play, and I've got a 3-pack of NBA props, sides, totals, and like I said, swept with last night's 3-pack. Hoping to do it again tonight.
It's Jesse Schule. Check him out on sportsmemo.com. You can also check him out daily here with videos on WagerTalk TV. And Andy, we do have Arthur DiCesare around the corner. Probably my favorite segment. I love having Ross. Love having Jesse. Andy's on all the time on Friday, so I hate saying it's my favorite because I'm not sliding you guys, but I really love talking to Art because we get a perspective from the other side of the counter coming up, and he is so gracious to be on twice this week on both Tuesday and Friday. So Art DiCesare from the Westgate coming up in just a moment. But first, we got to talk a little PGA Championship with the prop master himself, Andy Lang. And Andy, you and I started almost 4 years ago. I think next month will be the 4-month anniversary that we started on WagerTalk TV doing the NASCAR show. And we were happy when we got a couple hundred views back then. And now we look back, we're like, man, we were doing all that work for 30 minutes for 300 views. And unfortunately, it didn't hold up for that reason. But golf was one of your early entries into the realm as well here on WagerTalk TV. Always respect your takes on golf. What is something you're looking at for a round 2 prop in the PGA?
Well, I'll go over my play in just a bit, but I will tell you, I love when things happen that have never happened before. And I have a bet on Scotty Scheffler to finish in the top 5. Waking up and seeing that he had been arrested this morning was certainly something that has never happened before. I've never had a bet on somebody wake up and see his mugshot on Twitter. It's the most incredible thing. And what makes it even more hilarious is how nice he is. And this guy just had a baby 10 days ago. I mean, he truly is seen as one of the nicest and most even-keeled, most calm players. So if you would have given me a million chances to guess who ended up in jail, it would not have been Scotty Scheffler. It reminds me of my stepdad, who's the slowest driver ever. He got a speeding ticket once, and it was the funniest thing ever. It was how was there a cop there the one time in your entire life when you've ever sped? It was hilarious. So let's do a quick little play. This is for Xander Schauffele. He tees off here, I believe, around 240. Eastern time. So nice little free play here for our viewers. You can take his under 69.5 round 2 total. So that means he has to shoot -2 or better. Steve, he almost set the record for the lowest round in a golf major ever yesterday. He shot -9. So he only has to shoot -2 or better. And let's just take a look at some of his stats. He hit 12 out of 14 fairways yesterday. He hit 14 out of 18 greens, 100% on sand saves and scrambling. He's coming off a brutal loss last week where Rory McIlroy beat him, and this is the story with Xander Schauffele, where he finishes top 5 every week or top 20 every week, and he never can close it out and win. But he's so consistent. This is the guy who has got the second best total strokes gained this year behind only Scotty Scheffler. And here's the other thing, Steve. This course just is not playing as hard as we all thought it would. I thought it'd be playing much harder. I thought -9 might be the winning score. That was the round 1 leader. So the course is not that hard. It's raining there now, and the rain should move out, which means the course is going to be soft, and the greens are going to be very receptive. They'll be able to throw darts. He gets a great tee time today. I expect him to have another great round. He's not going to do -9, but he should do -2 or better. I've been watching the first round, and there's some guys that are going low. A couple guys are like -3 through 9 holes. So you can get Xander Schauffele under 69.5 on his round 2 score to shoot -2 or better. That is the best bet for today.
Andy Lang breaking down the PGA Championship, and that's a round 2 play, which goes in a couple hours for the live viewers here around 2 o'clock Eastern on Friday. So be sure you get that in from the prop master himself, Andy Lang. And let's bring in Arthur DiCesare, risk supervisor at the Westgate Superbook in Las Vegas. And Art, we had you on Tuesday, and we get you on Friday, your normal day here, 2-for-1 special with Art Dice 21 on Twitter and X. And the best part is I got to guest host Tuesday and Friday, which is even more rare. This was the ultimate parlay to get 2 days a week with Arthur DiCesare. So great to have you on board, and I hope the Prez has not located you yet. He is in Vegas, as you know, so be careful. Have the earmuffs ready when he comes in yelling in the Superbook. And Art, let me ask you real quick. Andy will have some follow-ups as well, but the Scotty Scheffler situation, I guess he assaulted a police officer. I mean, has that affected any of the bets? I believe he's still playing, Andy. Didn't he try to play round 2 from what I saw?
Oh, yeah. He made his
so
tee
he's
time.
playing, okay, which I didn't realize.
Long list of golfers who have been arrested and then made their tee times. It's a longer list than you would think. It really is. So, yeah, Art, what are you finding with the golf bets?
Yes, I mean, Art, did this affect anything? And, I mean, how's the handle been on the PGA Championship?
No, it doesn't affect anything. It was, like Andy said, it was weird to wake up and see a story like that, see the mugshot. We were going crazy in our little, like WhatsApp chat in our back risk room, just kind of making fun of the whole situation. And it's just a wild situation. The PGA Championship, obviously it's always slotted or it's always thought of as the 4th major. And obviously it's gotten moved up here where it's now 2nd, where it used to be last. Listen, it's not going to take what the U.S. Open or obviously the Masters takes as far as handle goes. And with Scheffler being so dominant, this of recent stretch, players look for a lot more odds, to kind of fade him a little bit because, this guy's, 4-1 to win a major. I mean, it's one of those things where we see a lot of people either wanting to fade him, while in the sense we're taking people with longer shots now on the odds board, or even looking to, take him in matchups. Say, hey, we're going to take Scheffler in matchups because he's so good. But as far as the handle goes, it's obviously going to be 4th on the list with the majors.
Yeah, and Andy's got the fade, the newborn baby angle. Now he's got a double fade, I guess, for a guy. It's the fade, get out of the clink, and the newborn baby. Although, I don't know, maybe get out of the clink motivates you. You're so happy to be free that you play carefree. Who knows? There's so many different ways to look at this. I will not be handicapping the PGA Championship this weekend, but it's a hell of a story to say the least. Art, I am handicapping the NBA, and you spoke Tuesday. I asked you about some liability teams, and if I'm not mistaken, didn't you say the Pacers were the one that you guys would not be happy see win the series? They're down 3-2 now. It's not looking good. Do you guys shade the series price? Do you want to just stay in line with the market? Indiana should win Game 6 tonight, which means we probably do have a Game 7 against your New York Knicks on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a great question, Stephen. Yes, when all these series started, the one that ended up being the biggest liability for us was the Pacers, with a nice 5-figure pre-series bet on Indiana and obviously nice plus money. To answer your question as far as do we shade, we will stay 10, 15 cents below market for a little bit, try to get a little buyback. But, at the same time, too, we trust our numbers. We trust what's going on. And, we thought the Knicks were the better team. And we also thought this was kind of a 7-game series anyway. And, just to look at the way the money's come in today and, over these last couple of days, Indiana opened 5. That was quickly 5. Went to 5.5, went to 6. We even got to 6.5 yesterday. There was buyback at 6.5. So some people saw the 6.5 with the Knicks as too much. We still need the Knicks tonight because there's more Pacer money. But for us, the most important thing is whether New York closes it out tonight or Sunday. That's what we're looking for. And a little bit of under money is coming as well. But right now, the most important thing for us today is the side. Probably, I would say 60, 70% of the money on Indiana.
Art, MLB, it's such a grind for bettors. I'm sure it's a grind for you as well. How's the season been so far as we're, kind of chugging away? Baseball been good, bad for the books so far this year?
Andy, it's been fine for us. And, baseball, like you said, it's a grind. It's a day in and day out thing. You're going to have good days and bad weeks, bad months, all that type of stuff. But you're going to have the good ones as well. And, the thing I like to look for is who do the sharps latch on to? Who do they find maybe a little bit earlier than some people? And they like to ride the streaks. A couple of things today. They're riding the Houston streak, 5 straight wins. They're riding the Colorado streak, 7 straight wins. You could get Houston overnight, plus 102, plus 103. Basically a pick 'em now, minus 105, minus 104 in that range. And the Rockies at San Francisco, that was high as plus 160 on the overnight. We're now dealing a little over plus 130, plus 131. San Francisco's not been that good, so they're riding streaks. The sharps really like to do that. And then the public, they're going to do what they do. They're going to lay it with the Yankees today. They're going to lay it with the Braves. They're especially going to lay it with the Dodgers, especially the Dodgers off a loss. They love to find that angle. And those are the teams pretty much day in and day out that we see in the parlays. So it's always nice when one of those teams can get knocked off, because you can kill a lot of parlays for that day.
The books, do they have a big interest in the NHL, or is that kind of not really a big part of the books right now where we're at in the playoffs for you guys?
Yeah, Andy, I said it on Tuesday. If the Knights were still in, there would be a lot more interest. Obviously, keeping the hometown team involved. You walk into a sports book with a night playoff game. This is going up against NBA playoff games. Knights are going to have sound, especially in town. So you lose a little bit of the juice with them being out, but obviously the NHL is the sport that takes the back seat, especially in the regular season. Doesn't compare to the handle of the NBA during the regular season, but it starts to pick up in the NHL, and you see people having a lot more interest betting the series, betting futures, and betting the games. Tonight, a couple of big game 5s. Bruins, they're trying to stave off elimination here. They've taken some money. They were high as plus 130, plus 135. You're now seeing plus 125. So you've seen some good Bruin money come in trying to get that game at home. Colorado also at home trying to force a game 7, but it's been Dallas money. Colorado was as high as minus 120 on the opener. We're now Colorado minus 112. And we've moved from 6.5 to, there's been a lot of 6.5s in that series with the total. We're now at 6 over minus 120. So there's been a little bit of adjustment there to the total.
Art, we're going to ask you about the NFL on the way out in a moment. I'll let Andy do that. But you just made me think of another question when you said the Golden Knights not being in it anymore brought the handle down. I want to ask you about the WNBA because the Aces are a huge team in Vegas. I did an ESPN radio show earlier this week, and the host told me he saw an article where one book at least said they got a bigger handle on Caitlin Clark's first game earlier this week than they did on the Knicks Pacers game 5. I didn't look into it, and I know it varies from book to book, but just want to get your thoughts on what the WNBA has been like here in week 1 compared to years past.
No, Steve, it's been amazing. The growth has been amazing. Obviously, helps that the hometown team Aces are the 2-time defending champs and look to be a team who's going to make another great run again this year. Obviously, Caitlin Clark adds a lot. We have Caitlin Clark props up for every game. We're going to start putting up Aces props for every game as well. Whereas a couple of years ago, we weren't doing that. We were just booking side totals, some team totals, first half, second half, things of that nature. So, yeah, You've seen the WNBA handle go up. Did it come close to Knicks Pacers? No. But I'll say this, it could rival some NHL games that might not have a lot of juice, so that is something that is very impressive. And just to throw out a couple things for the WNBA today, you saw some Mystics money at plus 10.5, and you're always going to see sharp money. Let me just remind you, the sharps bet the WNBA. They come in hard on the WNBA, especially on the overnights. They took the Mystics plus 10.5. You're at plus 9 now. And Seattle versus the Lynx, they took the over 162 on the overnight, sitting at 165 now. So a 3-point move to the over.
Andy, real quick before we get to the NFL, he said sharp money, and I had to chime in because I was doing the show yesterday. I believe we were talking WNBA, and of course, Caitlin Clark spotlight game against the New York team, the Liberty. And Art, I'm sure you're well aware what happened there. Open 5.5. I know you all closed 8.5. Liberty won 102-66. So it came within 2 points of the total. In fact, it straddled the total almost. But anyway, 36-point win. And we saw heavy sharp money on New York yesterday. So I love where he's going with that, with the sharp money. So it's one sport you might want to keep an eye on where that early money is coming is the WNBA. And Arthur DiCesare, risk supervisor at the Westgate, just kind of confirmed that, Andy.
Sharps betting the WNBA overnight.
I know,
Steve, that almost sounds like winning in the shadows.
I might not do my Fade the Public WNBA edition like I was planning all summer now, so you've kind of squashed that idea. Ride the Sharp edition. That might be what I should do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got to talk about NFL. Where are you guys at with some of your team totals, win totals, everything? How's NFL going so far?
So obviously schedule was released on Wednesday. We had a couple of games up. We had the opening game up, Chiefs and Ravens. We had the Brazil game up. But once the schedule got released, we have all week 1 games up. We've had divisions up now for a couple of weeks. This weekend, we will start working and look to release on Sunday, Monday the latest, our season win team totals, over under whoever, 8.5 wins. We're going to have to make the playoffs. And we've had all the awards up, offensive player, defensive player, MVP. So week 1 is available. And then eventually we will do what we always do. We will get every single team, every game slotted, and every game will have a point spread. So you will see that eventually. But look for that over here. Look for that at the Westgate in the next couple of days.
Yeah, Art, you guys do a great job with that. You've always been one of the leaders as far as every game on the board for the entire NFL season. And I know a lot of people use that in their handicapping as well when they're making power ratings, when they're predicting the season win totals. They look at those numbers. How much of a process is that for you all? What are the limits and what kind of action do you get on that? I would think, once again, that's probably not a public type of bet.
Definitely not. And yes, you're going to be limited. And listen, when we put out these games for week 1, we started seeing stuff come in. And listen, you're still going to be able to get, a nickel on a total, a dime on a side, things of that nature. And yeah, if we move it, or, perfect example, we had Chiefs open minus 2.5. We took some money early on it. We went to 2.5 minus 120. So, things are going to move a little bit. Obviously, we know there's a lot to go on, preseason games, training camp, injuries will happen, and we're a long way from the season, opening September 5th. But of course, as we always say, we're open for business. We're here to take bets. Obviously, you won't get the bets you're going to get as, what it would be the week of. But we're still awesome and still want to take the bets because, some of our sharp guys come in and we could start saying, oh, maybe our number was a half point off. Maybe our total was 2 points off, whatever the case may be. So we could start to kind of mold our numbers the way we want to see it over here, in the next couple of months.
And by the way, the WagerTalk live odds screen, which is free for everybody, has the advanced NFL numbers at numerous books, including the Superbook in Las Vegas, the book we're talking about right now. So you can look at the lines, you can click on it, see the line history. And one thing you notice a lot of times is a team that's 1 minus 2, they get the action because, once again, the only reason you play these games several months ahead of time would be because you think you're going to get a much better number now than you're going to get on the game week. And I think when you're taking key numbers like 2, 2.5, you're going to see that happen more times than not. And not a bad deal for the Westgate. They get to hold your money for free for 4 or 5 months as well, interest free. So I like the concept of the advanced NFL lines. It's a win-win for everybody. And the Westgate does it as well as anybody at the Superbook. Teddy Covers chimed in, even though he's not on today, Art, and he said, you will be on every Tuesday and Friday going forward. And I did not know this, man. I thought this was a special week because I was guest hosting, But that is fantastic information. And I'll let you confirm it right now live on WagerTalk TV, Tuesday and Fridays. Arthur DiCesare, right after the 12:30 Eastern mark on the show here. Art, that's fantastic news. And what else do you have going on at the Westgate?
This is 100% true. And if anyone likes my appearances, you can thank Prez. He begged me. He sent me a million texts. Whatever you need, I'll buy you dinner. I'll be indebted to you for life. I said, Prez, I don't need any favors. I love coming on with you guys. So, I had a little time on Tuesday, so I love coming on. And Tuesdays and Fridays are great. And, as always, guys, come down to the Westgate. Check us out. This is a perfect time to come in and sign up for the app. And like I said, we'll have all the NFL stuff coming up here in the next couple of days, so look for that. And as always, if you have any questions, you come down, you ask for me. You can reach out to me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and I'm always willing to answer questions.
Yeah, he has a great follow on Twitter X at ArtDice21, ArtDice21. Fantastic handle, fantastic follow, fantastic sportsbook maker and risk supervisor at the Westgate Superbook in Las Vegas. If you like him on Fridays, you're going to love him on Tuesdays, twice a week going forward. And won't that be nice come football season? A little early action on Tuesday, and then, of course, the Friday report is the Big Daddy report heading into the weekend. That's Arthur DiCesare. Follow him on X at ArtDice. Reach out, tell him you appreciate him coming on Wager Talk TV. And if you're in Las Vegas, go ask for him by name in the Westgate Superbook. All right, I'm Steve Merrill. That's Andy Lang. We guest hosted today on Friday. The Prez and Teddy are going to the Grateful Dead show in Vegas at the Spear, so must-see TV on Monday. I don't want to jinx them and say the over-under of both of them being on is only 80%. We know Teddy will be on. He's about 98%, Andy, but we never know with the Prez. So I'm in the bullpen. I'll have my arm ready just in case I got to click on Monday, but the Prez is scheduled to be back. Once again, it is $5 Customer Appreciation Friday at both sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com. You saw Ross Benjamin, Jesse Schule. They're at sportsmemo.com. Myself, Steve Merrill, Andy Lang. We are at wagertalk.com. I'm going to let Andy tell you what he's got going on. He's got some strong plays. And once again, might want to consider diversifying and taking a serious investment approach. And we're two good guys to do it with. I'm number one all time in the NBA. I'm number one again this season in the NBA. And Andy Lang does sports that I can't even spell. So it's a great way to diversify your portfolio and double up and make some money this weekend. And why not start off with a $5 best bet from both of us? Unlimited $5 best bets, each and every capper you can choose from for this Friday at wagertalk.com. Andy, what you got going, and take us home?
$5 best bet is up in UFC. This is a client play that I have already locked in. I bet all of the bets that I put out for clients, and this is a play I had my eyes on all week. I was saving it for Friday because it is $5. We're on a beautiful 9-3 run in UFC and MMA. Only $5. No better time to grab a play. And spoiler, it's about violence. This is a fun play. I'm expecting violence on this card. So not only is it a really, really nice, profitable play at a great price, should be a lot of fun to watch as well.
See, that just shows that we're not correlated, because I've never hyped a game saying violence. I like the hype. That's fantastic. It makes me want to go get it now, because I love violent plays at cash. It's nice when it's green, but it's even better when it's violent green. Violent green, Andy Lang. Take Andy, blah, 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 blah. Andy Lang, take us home.
All plays can be found at wagertalk.com. Let's have a great weekend. Don't forget to manage your bankroll. Make sure you're not going all in on just one play. Bet responsibly, and we will see everyone Monday on Wager Talk Today.